Alright, so here we are back. We've got the image plane set up. We're going to start working with the face. And you may be wondering why I brought these images in separately like this. Personally, I prefer to model the face first, and I also prefer to model it so that it's the same size that it needs to be, rather than trying to scale all of those things down later on when we had the rest of the body. So that's why. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start putting in the polygons for the face, and we're going to start with the mouth. Now I'm going to go into my side viewport here, my front view, so I'm looking straight at the face, and I'm going to start with a simple plane, and I'm going to start with the mouth. So let's go up here to create polygon primitives and plane, and I'm going to click and drag a point where I believe the lip is kind of perpendicular to my viewpoint. So I'm going to start right about here, and we'll go out about that far. And I'm going to zoom in. So one thing we want to do, we're going to build the right half of this character so that we can flip it over. So we want to make sure that everything we have is snapped directly to this 0 axis. I'm going to select the vertices here, hold X and snap it directly, make sure it's there. And let's also take a look at where this plane is now in relation to the side view of the object. So there's the plane over here on the 0 axis. So I'm going to move it so that it's also in line with her lip. And I'm going to move it down so it lines up with the part that is most perpendicular. And there we go. Now, keep in mind, we're going to model this in a fairly low res. And you can see the lips don't quite match up. Let's double check that real quick. That will make our lives a little bit easier here. Let me take this image. I'm going to unlock it. So right click, go to unlock, and I'm going to move it so that it intersects the other image over here, like we did with the full body shots. And I just want to double check a couple of things here. The lips, make sure the image is right in the center. It's pretty close. So the top of her lip is right about where it needs to be. The bottom one is much lower, so is the chin. So let me check the eyeball here. So I believe I need to scale this up a bit. And move it to recenter. And let's just get the lips lined up properly. The lips and the nose first. I'll worry about the eyes here in a minute. So the bottom of the chin is right about where it needs to be. Let's move it back. The lips look much better, particularly the bottom one. The nose seems to be, if I line up the nostril, let's see what that falls, pretty darn close. And let me check the eye. The eye is still low, so that tells me if the lips and the chin seem okay, but the nose is a little bit lower and the eye is even more lower, then it means I just need to scale it up, but I want to scale it from down here. Make sure these are lined up properly. So what I want to do is I want to move this tool so it's anchored right here. So I'm going to hold D. I'm going to move it down, and using the arrows only, I'm moving it only with the arrows so I know exactly where it is. See, it's still directly on my plane, but now it's right about where the chin meets. So now I hit R, I can scale and now let's double check here. The lip seems right, nose seems right, her eye, let's move this over, seems very close. Very close. All right, so I think we're in good shape now. So let's move this image only by moving the arrows. Do not move it some other way. Move it really close to this image. Doesn't have to be right on it. And then let's change the alpha gain to 0.5 again and go back to, whoops, I accidentally, there we go. Accidentally typed in 0 for the alpha. So we'll go back here. Now, you can see that this image doesn't quite line up with the image behind it. The reason, because we aligned this one with the other close-up of the face, we're going to ignore the one behind it. So at least get it so that her nose, the front of her nose and everything line up, even though that this one looks like it's a tad bit higher up than the other. All right, so now we can move the alpha gain back to 1, and let's lock that into place. Okay, now we're ready. So I'm going to go ahead and do a file save just to make sure we save all those changes. Okay, so now I think we're ready. Our lip, remember, we started building, we can find it here, our lip. Where did I do with that? Here it is. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. And now let's check it. Hit F. And I can move it up just a little bit more. It's hard to see there. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at what exactly it is we're working towards. We're going to keep this model low resolution. We want to model everything with as few polygons as possible so it saves you some time. But the overall goal here for this model is we're going to be using it in a game, and it's not going to be a high-res model. We're going to keep this character somewhere around 2500 to 3500, maybe 4000 polygons at the most. So here's an example. Let me drag this over so you can see it. Here's an example of a character. This is a male, but it gives you an idea of the level of detail and the polygon sizes that we're going to be using. So let's take a look at this before we get too started. We're right about here on this polygon on the mouth. So notice how the lips are formed, right? We've got on just one half of the mouth, The lower lip has only 3, and then a little polygon over here, 3 polygons going across. The upper lip has a little bit more, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is all important because we want to be able to open and close the mouth eventually, as well as create facial expressions. So if you look at the human anatomy, you look at muscles in the face and how facial expressions are created, you'll notice that the muscles in the face will be replicated in the model here, similar to what we have here. So notice we've got these the strip of polygons that go from the mouth up to the eye, as well as the ones down below here. This helps us create facial expressions, and as well these circular pieces around the mouth and the eyes allow us enough polygons to create facial expressions and open and close those openings and things for blinks, if you want to do dialogue, lip sync, and stuff like that. So we're going to follow this pretty closely, the same style layout, not in all cases, but in a lot of them. So a couple things to remember: we want to try to stick with all 4-sided polygons. We're going to keep it low resolution. We're not going to get crazy in detail right now. We want to try to keep it the same layout in terms of how the polygons are tied together. So what we'll do first is we'll build the mouth. We'll go out about 3 or 4 polygons out to create the mouth. Then we'll come back and we can build the eye, and then we'll do the nose and the ear, and then flip those over, and then start building out the rest of the face. All right, now here's a side view of the same piece. So let's take a look at our model. That's where we're heading. So I'm going to zoom in here so it's easy to see. And let's just start forming this. So we could do this a number of different ways. I'm going to just go with the edge first, and I'm going to extrude. Not even on the right menu here. Go to Edit Mesh and Extrude, and I'm going to pull these out to create the pieces that I need. So 1, and I'm going to hit G to extrude a second time. And I'm probably going to go, I'll just go up to here. All right, now let's shape this a little bit better. So this is going to come up. We want to try to get the edges to form right around where the edges of the major changes are going to occur. Actually, I'll bring this in a bit. Now I'm going by the lower edge here. And then play around with the additional edge. And this is going to get narrower, obviously. So keep in mind, we also have to form the mouth in different angles. All right, so I'm going to look at it from this angle here, see exactly what it is we're looking at. Let me go to Object Mode. Notice what my camera is doing. It's kind of disappearing. I mean, my near clipping plane is too close, or not close enough. So let's go to View, select Camera. I'm going to hit Control A. This brings up my camera attributes, and I'm going to go down here to near clipping plane. It's set to 0.1. I'm going to make that 0.001. And for the far clipping plane, I typically will go 100,000. That usually takes care of just about everything. All right, so now we can see the mouth a little bit better without it changing. So before I get into the curve, we have another curve, right? We've got the curve going this way. We also have the curve of the profile, but then we also have the curve where it wraps around the side. So let's do the curve of the profile first, and then we'll take care of the side view of that. So I'm going to grab the edge that goes along here. And I'm going to extrude it. So I'm going to edit mesh, extrude, and I'm going to pull this up to create the next level. And I think that will be a good spot. So from this view, I'm going to make sure this hit X, or hold X to snap it to that 0 axis. And then I'm going to move these all in a way that makes sense. There we go. Now I'm also going to have to pull them backwards. Let's select all the ones on the top, and we'll start moving them backwards. And I want to do this in wireframe. So hit 4 on these perspective views. You want to hit 4. So 4, and up here we don't need to worry about that. I would probably do 4 up here too. I'll leave this one solid. In perspective view, solid shading's okay. But down in here you want to be able to see what exactly is going on. Now keep in mind this part here, these two that you see here are the ones clear over on the side. That's why they don't line up with the middle of the mouth very well. Eventually they'll wrap around, they'll be back this way. But right now I'm just trying to get the angle correct on there. So actually this could go a little bit closer forward. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the next edge in here. So I'm going to select the top edge across there. And let's extrude it again. And I'm going to pull it outward. And then go back to vertex mode. Now, this has to be brought back to the center. The rest of these I'm just going to kind of line up. With the middle part of the mouth, right where it goes back. Let me realign that. So each of these are going to come back even further into the mouth. And now we're starting to form the overall shape of this. I'm going to bring this one up. In fact, I'll bring both of these up. All right. Now that I've got the basic shape going this direction and this direction, the next is getting it to go this direction, which would be wrapping around the face. So I'm going to grab these 3 or 4 vertices on the far edge where the corner of the mouth would be. And in this view down here, I'm going to move these back to line up with right about where they should fall on that mouth. So right about here. And then I'm going to move this group. You can see what that did. And I'm going to move them back. And this is where you have to be more of a sculptor. I mean, you really need to kind of think of this in terms of 3D. Because you don't have guidelines for exactly where to bring it. So you have to kind of move around your spot here to see, does that look correct or not? And I think for starting off, it'll be okay. Keep in mind, you're not going to get this perfect right off the bat. We're going to get close as we can, and then once we start filling in things like the cheeks and chin and all that, we'll have to make adjustments here and there to make it all work. So for the next part, let's work on the upper lip. So a good time to save. And once you've saved, let's go back to our front view and let's put in a new one. I'm not gonna, you could duplicate this and move it and rotate it. Let's just start fresh. Let's go create polygon primitives, plane, create another one right about here. And let's move it into place. So again, it places that new one on the 0 axis. So we have to move it in line with where it should actually be. Let's go to here. And you can see the front of her lip is a bit further out. And I want to line the top of this with the top of her lip right there. That's about right. That's about where the edge should be, because that's where the change of direction is going to take place. And let's go to vertex mode, and I'm going to move this down, maybe even a little bit up. And I'm looking at this, and in the side view you see the top of her lip right up here, and in the front view you see that it's down. It's because we're seeing this, you know, the middle part of the lip comes down further, where right here it goes up. So we're actually looking at this spot right here. So technically this plane could line up right here, the highest part of the lip, right? And I think what I'm also going to do, I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to move this over a little bit more. I think that'll look better. Okay, so that's a pretty small beginning. Let's go ahead and get this part to dip down a bit. So we'll take the edge here, and we're going to extrude it. Hold X, snap it to the line, and then do the same thing across the other side here. Now, if we look at the example here, the upper lip, on this one, the upper lip has more edges. Now we could do more on the bottom too. In fact, I probably will right here. I'd rather have another edge going through here, which we'll add. So, but for the upper lip, we created this polygon. We've created this one that goes to the center. Now we can create the others, and they have 3 more going all the way to the corner of the mouth. So let's try to get the rest of that built with just 3 more. So I'm going to go extrude, go out, hit G, and then G one more time. There's the 3 that we needed. Now we can start kind of laying them out a little bit better. So I'm going to go dip that down. This will probably be a little bit shorter there. This can start to come down. And I'm right now just lining up the top of the edge. And try to find, you know, if they're wearing makeup or something, sometimes it's hard to find the actual edge, which is nice. This one does not have lipstick, but you can kind of see the edge where the lip meets right in there. So it's a little harder sometimes, but all right, so this is going to come up because we're going to squeeze a lot of polygons in there. Okay. So I think that's going to be a good start. Let's look at forming the actual curve going in. Grab the edge that goes all the way around, and let's extrude it down. And then let's look at it from the side here so we know approximately where to go. So remember, I'm going for this back line here. It's the one that's going right around. These front ones are the ones that are on the corner of the mouth. So I'm going to judge it all by that. But let's also make sure that we go down far enough. Remember, we're trying to keep this fairly low res, right? We don't want too many polygons in here. All right, so I'm going to rework these vertices. So this one's going to get snapped. Hold X, snap it to the grid. And try to work with the edge flow here. Try to keep the edges, you know, as you get closer to the opening of the mouth, you want the edges to become more and more horizontal so that when the mouth, the upper lip meets the lower lip, you don't have any weird overlaps going on there, the mesh. So, all right. Now we can always add more. If it's not enough, you know, edges, we can always add more. So let's get another edge here going across the one we just sent, and we will extrude that out. And back in. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is that it's starting to get kind of messy. So you'll want to be careful of that. I'm going to move it down just a bit. Actually, I'm going to undo it. Right before I move the extrusion, I'm going to click this little power button up here, and that will kind of straighten out some of those edges. I'm going to go all the way down here. And then go back in here, go to vertex mode again, and we're just going to make sure everything lines up. So make sure that's snapped to the grid. And again, we're just going to go through and keep an eye on our edge flow, try to get this line almost parallel with that one. Okay, and then we'll do another one here. So edge. and I'm just selecting the first edge, holding shift and double clicking the last one, and that selects everything in between. So again, we'll go extrude. I'm going to hit the little power button here, and then I'm going to look from the side view and move that extrusion back. And that is about where they're going to meet. Now I'll have the lips go further in, but for starters, kind of leave it at that. Let me adjust these vertices real quick. Always make sure those are attached, snapped to the grid. These look pretty good. All right. Now, same thing with the last one. We need to move the outer corners of the mouth back to give it the other curve. So I'm going to select just those, and I'm going to go to the front view here, and I'm going to move them back. And I'm going to go right about here. Now this obviously doesn't have to go back that far, but we'll adjust that as we go. So let me grab this next group. And of course I'm moving only with the arrows because everything's aligned. From the front and the top and the side, everything is aligned. So if I don't move them back with the arrows, then I risk misaligning it someplace else. Okay. And then the next group. And the next group. Now, as far as the top of the lips go, this is not easy. This part here will probably have to go much further back so that the corners of the mouth can meet up. So we're going to keep pushing that a little bit further. Go ahead and get it to almost completely align with the corner, and that's pretty good right there. Now obviously I don't need these to be way back there, so we can kind of adjust this. Move this back up, and that one seems to line up a little bit better. Same with this one. All right, so now you can see that this is a little too far out, so we can move this one back to help create this curve here a little bit better. As far as the center, this probably comes back just a little bit. And this, what we're doing here is basically how it works. There's a lot of tweaking going on. All right. Now, as I said, I'm going to save. But like I said, luckily we're only modeling half, right? So we don't have to worry about the other half right now. Let's finish up these lips. One of the things I was mentioning though, I did want to place another edge through here. So like I said, we can do this anytime. I can go up here to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop is the best way to do this. And then I'm going to click right here and it'll create a new edge right in there. Not a big difference. Maybe I've been this, but what it will make a difference in is later on when we go to animate, we'll have a little bit more control over that lower lip. So that's what it looks like so far. Now I'm not going to merge the vertices where these two lips meet. Actually, what I'll do is I'm going to do one more extrude back for both the upper and lower lips, just so it goes all the way in. So let's go extrude. And in this case, I'm going to start to go upward a little bit. And that way, this starts to form the inside. Let's go from a side view so I see exactly what I'm doing here. When you're working in this small of a space, sometimes it's hard. I'm just trying to get these so they're fairly even across there. All right, so that starts to form the inside of that, and you could probably go another. What you don't want to do is have the person open their mouth and see the edge of the lip. So let's just leave that one as it is right now, and we'll do one more for the lower lip here. So extrude this back. I'm going to go that and then bring it straight back. And again, let's look here. Start to go in downward with it. That looks pretty good right off the, without doing too much work to it. Okay, so we've got that part. Let's form the corners. Now we need to bring all of these around. We're basically creating a circle. And let me bring in the example here. We're creating a circle around here. So these need to come up and join with the upper lip. So we'll do that by merging them, first of all. Merge these two objects. I'm going to select both of them. And we'll go up here to Mesh, Combine. And we want to figure out where exactly are we going to merge these. Well, let's see. We've got, for the lower lip, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 faces. And for the upper lip, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have one extra on the upper lip. So let's do one more for the lower lip. And we'll just do it at the very bottom. So let's select this bottom edge and we'll extrude it downward. So extrude, go down just a tad, doesn't need to be a lot, and we're going to bring it in. So let's look at that from the side view. How does it line up? And it looks like it lines up pretty well. So I'll go to vertex. And let's see what this looks like from this. Anywhere, you always want to inspect this center line, and anywhere you see a straggler that didn't quite get snapped, just double check. Make sure it snaps. Because that can be a real pain later on when you try to bring it all together. Okay, so now we've got an even number. We've got the same amount of polygons going on here between the two. So we can start bridging the gap. Now, what I would do is I'm going to select this last piece, and we're going to bring them together with a bridge. Let's do it in the front. We'll take the very top part and the very bottom part, and let's see if we can do this. This might work. Let's go to bridge. I'm going to go to the option box, and I'm going to choose one division and hit bridge. That worked. Now what we need to do with this is it connected the two, but we need to select those two vertices, and let's pull them out to the side a little bit. We're going to form this corner, and I want this to go a little bit higher. Let's see what this looks like. So this is the lower part, and let's basically just selected the vertex and hit F, so and it doesn't quite do what I want it to do. Let me see if we go up here to view, look at selection. There we go. If F doesn't do it, then you can always do it that way. Look at selection. So I'm going to move this so that it's more in line with the lips here. And if it goes out a little bit, that's okay. Let's see what that looks like compared to the... Yeah, it actually looks pretty good. So this one can actually go out a little bit there. Okay, so let's do the next one. So we'll take this and that, same thing, bridge them together. Now this vertex can snap to that vertex. They're going to be aligned, right? So I'm going to hold V, hit W first, so your move tool, then hold V, you'll see the little circle, it means you're in snap, and I'm going to grab that and snap it to that one. Then I'm going to move this one a little more independently. All the while thinking about things like edge flow. Now these two here are still separate, right? There's a hole there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag over them to select both and hit Edit, Merge. Okay, really important, make sure all your vertices are merged, because when you start rigging these and moving and animating them, all of those openings will open up and it'll look frightening. So, all right, so we're getting there. Let's get the next piece. We'll go from this one to that one, and again, bridge. Grab this outer vertex, hold V, and snap it to that one. And then grab this one and move it independently. And basically we're going to end up coming back along here. So that's the angle that we're after. And then these two that are on top of each other, again, we need to merge those together. And we have 2 more. So edge here to edge there, bridge, grab that. Let's go ahead and merge those now. And then figure out where I believe it's this one here. Yeah. Okay. And we have one last one to do. And that would be the interior here, from this one to that one. So again, bridge. This one should be a little easier. We'll go that point. We'll snap to that point. And this point doesn't really snap. We just want to bring it out. And keep the edge flow nice and smooth. So these two need to be merged. This can probably be pushed up a little bit. All right. And there we have the connection made between those 2 points. Now, how does it look from the front? We can move some of these up a little bit. Let's move these just a bit. I'd rather have a little bit of a smile. Oops. There we go. All right. That's looking pretty good. So I'd go ahead and save if you haven't already. Okay, and what we want to do is let's take this, let's go one more polygon out. This is the edge of the lip. So let's just go one more polygon out all the way around to create the other parts. So what we'll do is I'm going to select the edges from there, and I'm going to hold Shift and double click down here. It should select the edge that goes all the way around the corner and back around. So let's do a quick extrude, and I'm going to go to Mesh, Extrude. This time, instead of moving, I'm going to hit Scale, and I'm going to scale out. No, maybe not. Let's not do that. Let's just move up. There we go. So this is where the lip is going to change directions, both the upper and lower. So what I want to do is go to a side view and see how much. So I'm going to push it backward. Doesn't change a whole lot. But it does change. And I don't want to get too small either. So I'll probably make this a little larger. So let me go vertex by vertex now. So I'm going to move this, snap it to the center line, but I'm going to move it up. I'm actually moving it right about in here. So let's kind of even this out. So the more detailed lip shape here is going to start to gradually move into more of an oval shape. And yeah, make sure this one is snapped. Bring it down. I almost feel like I need one more edge here as well. I'll probably go ahead and do that. But notice I'm also making this particular edge a different angle. So I know that this edge here marks the edge of where the lip meets the skin. That'll make it a little easier when we get to the texturing. If you have defined borders of where specific materials will or textures will change their location, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so one thing I do want to do here is I want to add one more edge here. We can always take edges out if it gets to be too much, but let's go ahead and put one in, insert right there. That is going to allow me to, let's go to vertex mode. That's going to allow me to give this a little bit more of a gradual curve when it comes across here. Okay. Let's see what this looks like from the side view. And they need to come in a bit. All right, and then let's get the top. Okay, I think we're almost there. Let me bring this in just a bit. Okay, so I'd say we've got a really good start on these lips. So let's go finish these lips off and we'll bring them across to the other side. So in a front view, I'm going to move my, I'm going to move command, the move tool. I'm going to move this manipulator tool so it snaps to this line here, the 0 axis. So I'm going to hold D and then I'm going to hold X to snap it. That puts it right in the middle. So now I can flip it across that axis. So what I'm going to do is go to Edit, duplicate special and option box. And the first thing you always do when you come in here is go up here to edit and reset settings. And what I want to do is I want to duplicate it and flip it in this direction, which is the red axis, which is the X. So in the duplicate special options, we see the different columns here. The columns represent X, Y, and Z in that order, and we want to scale this. That's what the flip is. Just like we scaled the image plane, we scaled it by, flipped it by scaling it in one direction. So we're doing the same thing here. We want to scale it in the x-axis, and we want to put a negative sign in front of the 1. So that means it's going to scale it negative 100%, or 100% in the opposite direction. We only need one copy, so let's go ahead and hit duplicate special. If your model was lined up on the center axis here, and your pivot point was snapped to it, then it should line up perfectly with the other model. And it looks like it does. So, but we have two objects now. So what we'll need to do is shift select both objects. Let's go up here to Mesh, Combine, and now we want to merge the vertices together, because right now, even though we combine them, if I go to vertex mode and do a single click, you'll see there's a hole there. So we want to do a crossover, okay, and then do Edit Mesh, Merge. Do that for all of these crossover. I'm going to hit G because G is a shortcut to redo the last command. So crisscross, G, crisscross, G. Now when you get down in here, make sure you're not accidentally selecting things back here, because that will happen. And also make sure you're not merging vertices from, let's see here, I can get this in here. Make sure you're not merging vertices from the lower lip to the upper lip. So there's my gap. So you don't want to do that either. Okay, so G. Sometimes it's easier to select things when you're on the outside of the model looking in. Just kind of depends. G. This one here is the hardest spot. Okay, so the rest of these I think I can get from this direction. So G, select G. You can see down here there is one spot where these last two weren't right on the axis line. I forgot to snap them, so when I flipped it there was a gap. So that's it. So that is the first part of our face. So the next part will be doing the eye, and then we'll do the nose, and then we'll start moving. Actually, I didn't have to flip that. I could have left it. We'll do the rest of the face because we'll flip everything back over. But anyway, we'll start the eye, and then we'll do the nose, and then we'll start connecting all those polygons in between those pieces. All right, so that's it for the mouth, and I'll see you in the next one.